What's up, everybody? Welcome back inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for the Wednesday night edition of the Practice Report presented by Byers Auto. That's the 40-year vet. And the new guy, that is Andy Backstrom, newest member of Lettermen Row. If you haven't already, go to Twitter, follow him at Andy Backstrom. Andy, thanks for being here. Welcome to Lettermen Row. Welcome to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center.
Happy to be in the Woody. Happy to join you guys. I'm ready to talk some Ohio State football.
Hey, by the way, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Now that we're done with the pleasantries.
He knows where I got married. That's what I like about him, coming from Boston College.
Yes, covered Boston College for another network for quite a while. Now he's coming over to the On3 network, joining Lettermen Row. We're happy to have him. Ohio State was happy to have us in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Wednesday night for a nice round of interviews, Tim. We got to talk to quite a few Buckeyes that we haven't talked to in a while. Jordan Hancock, Denzel Burke. It was the cornerback hour for a little while. Then it was the offensive line hour. We talked to DeJuan Jones, Paris Johnson. Then we also got to talk to Tyleik Williams, Lathan Ransom. Nice mix of Buckeyes. No C.J. Stroud this week. Emeka Egbuka was out here, but not a lot to report on the offensive side other than in that running game. What was your biggest takeaway, Tim, as we talked to the Buckeyes?
The confidence that Denzel Burke is playing with now compared to 5-6 weeks ago, especially after he injured that finger in practice and had to miss the Wisconsin game, was going to play with a club on his hand. But like Andy and I were just talking about, you feel really good after that surgery, the day after a surgery where they kind of put bones back together, et cetera, because you're still kind of like shot up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden on Saturday, like he said, the pain was ridiculous when he tried to play in that game. But what you've seen, I think, the last couple of weeks is a progression by him. I thought he played very fluidly on Saturday at Penn State. I even told him so. Quarterbacks aren't going to make every play.
No.
Their position is designed for them to not make every play. But just the way he was in the right place at the right time and the way he ran with receivers and stuff, I think is boding well for him headed into this last part of the season. And it couldn't come at a better time with both him and Jordan Hancock feeling much more confidence than they had like 3 or 4 weeks ago, especially with Hancock. With Cam Brown's situation going on, J.K. Johnson is still learning on the job, although I thought he played pretty well on Saturday with a couple of plays, with the exception of a couple of plays. They were big ones. But it's very, very important for this cornerback room to get a little more stout as this season goes on.
Andy, you have not been around Denzel Burke, but you can gauge a level of confidence from a player. You've been around Division I athletes for a long time. Denzel seemed a little confident today. We have not seen him play confidently in quite a while. Do you sense that he's starting to get some of that confidence back just by talking to him one time?
Yeah, I think when you're a defensive back, a lot of it's how many reps are you getting. It's hard to come in for 25, 30 reps and play well because you might have some bad plays in the mix there. You probably will. It's an up and down position. And so when you're playing north of 70 snaps like he did last week, I think you get a little bit more of a rhythm, and I think that's where that confidence increases.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he missed so much of preseason camp with a shoulder problem, which he talked a little bit about today too. I mean, no matter how long you played this game, the preparation for a season is huge. It's just for want of another term I keep using, getting back into that flow of playing your position. But that young man, does not lack for confidence.
No.
I mean, he's always a joy to talk to, and because he kind of cuts right to the chase with you, and I think he's pretty fired up about what's coming.
Yeah, when we talked to him last year ahead of the matchup against Jahan Dotson, he did not back down from that whatsoever. You remember that, Tim?
Yeah.
It was almost on the borderline of competence cocky that we always talk about. But that's what you want from a cornerback. He plays with a little bit of that swagger. Jordan Hancock also talked to us tonight, Tim. He's a piece that I obviously have been excited about. He was one of my potential breakouts on the defensive side of the ball for the second half of the season. You're starting to see why. I don't think he's quite there yet. I don't think he's where he needs to be yet. But he's gaining valuable reps. He's getting on the field and finally getting in the flow. If Cameron Brown is to be out for any sort of longevity here in November, to have Jordan Hancock back, to have a healthy and confident Denzel Burke, this unit is going to continue to get better. I don't think we've seen the best of the Ohio State cornerbacks yet.
No, and do not discount J.K. Johnson.
No, not at all.
J.K. Johnson, man, and even Jair Brown. I mean, we may see him later on. We'll see how that goes. I mean, but the way they played in that Wisconsin game with both starters missing, and of course Jordan Hancock not available, that was huge. And it's funny how when you look back, as the old saying goes, in retrospect, how valuable that was for this football team going forward. But when you're playing the game and you're going into the Wisconsin game with both your starting corners missing and 2 guys starting basically for the first time, that is not a feel-good moment for coaches. You know what I mean? And so they've gotten past that, and I think it's huge going forward.
On the other side of the ball, we talked to Ohio State, obviously, about the screen game, obviously about the running game. This is a offense that does not seem to believe there are issues, and with good reason. It's the #1 offense in America. But the confidence level of this offense has not been shaken whatsoever by a lack of substantial run game the last 2 weeks, Andy. I think it's probably a credit to them trying to keep their focus, that they're not hung up on a few missed assignments against Iowa and against Penn State, and they're just looking forward to reestablishing the run against Northwestern.
Yeah, I think with reestablishing the run, it's a pride thing, right? With that offensive line, you can be as good of a passing team as you want, but that reputation out of the O-line is how do you run block? And I think getting back on track against a Northwestern team that's giving up over 185 yards per game on the ground is a good time to kind of turn the page a little bit and get back on track.
I think in a medical deal where they introduce a new pill to save, to cure something. Sometimes you get the placebo and sometimes you get the real deal. I think Northwestern's the real deal to help Ohio State feel much better about its running game. But as I asked Paris Johnson Jr., left tackle, that fourth quarter was huge. Ohio State went in the fourth quarter trailing.
They did.
And scored those touchdowns, but not only that, got that big run by Travion, which was big not only for Travion, but I asked I think DeJuan what was more important, getting you guys on track of feeling good or getting Travion. He said both, because Travion hadn't had that real home run hit this year, and what we were all counting on seeing this year, and that's huge. I mean, things can come of age just in an instant. I remember watching that 2014 team over at Penn State when they pulled out that great victory. Boom, they were going. They were going from that moment on. And I told Paris that that's the reason I asked him that question, because Joey Bosa and all these guys made great plays in crunch time in the fourth quarter at Penn State, one of the toughest places to play in America, and boom, they were on another level after that game.
From then on.
And I think you might see the same thing from this football team, both offensively and defensively, discounting that last scoring drive by Penn State when things kind of got a little
pre-venti?
Yeah, a little slappy. And by the way, at the moment, just for truth in advertising, Ohio State's like number 6 in the nation in total offense. They kind of dropped a little bit the last 2 weeks. Tennessee's number 1.
Do you think there's any offense that's probably more high-powered or better than this Ohio State offense right now?
No,
you bring a new perspective.
Yeah, coming from a different beat, I'm watching a pretty pathetic Boston College offense.
Well, that's a really bad perspective.
Yeah,
it's like being in a submarine.
Right, so everything looks great.
Yeah,
no, but I think the talent here across the board, it was interesting. Yesterday, Ryan Day was asked, without JSN, can this still be a productive offense? Can you still achieve your goals you want to achieve? And he said, yes, absolutely. And, they're hoping to get him back. But, to be able to say that and confidently say that, and I think accurately say that, that's rare for any team in this country.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on this show before, whatever we call this. We call it a show, right?
It's a show.
Is the fact that
spectacle, Tim, if you will.
They have moved on from needing Jackson Smith and Jigba. Would they love to have him? Hell
yes.
Yeah. I mean, but Marvin Harrison Jr. on Urban's Take this week, a thing I will do with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer said the best player in college football in his mind right now is Marvin Harrison Jr. When you're talking about the Heisman, and that included C.J. Stroud, Hendon Hooker, etc. But the thing you got to give Tennessee, I mean, Kentucky plays very good defense, and they slapped Kentucky around last week. Alabama is known for defense, and they beat Alabama 52-49. So Tennessee's got a pretty good offense too.
So now Ohio State's put up 37, because obviously the pick six wasn't offense. Put up 37 on Penn State. Now you just wait and see what they do against Michigan. They put up 54 on that good Iowa defense. But that's a story.
Yeah, 47.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll see what they do against Michigan in 3 weeks.
Ryan Day reminded me of that. Yeah.
We'll see what they do against Michigan in 3 weeks. Not a lot of Northwestern talk here, but this is a focused group of Buckeyes. I think both of you guys would agree. As they head up to Evanston, head to Northwestern for a pivotal Big Ten showdown, Tim.
Pivotal? Yeah. But here's the thing. You talk about, you get little insights on whether a team is focused. DeJuan Jones already knows what the forecast is for Saturday. rain and windy, maybe in the 20-mile-an-hour range from a wind standpoint, and it's going to be raining off and on through that day, maybe the whole day, and it's going to be on grass.
Big Ten West weather, Tim.
Yeah, but the point is, this is your right tackle, and he already knows what the weather forecast is for Saturday. So he's already that is a tip that a team is paying attention to what's coming.
And here's another little tidbit. Lettermen was talking on the side to a couple different people in this building, said that they pushed them a little harder the last couple days just to remind them that they're not, not to get
Williams too hard.
Not to get complacent, not to get stuck as they go from a raucous environment at Penn State to a environment. They will be in an environment at Northwestern. Can we agree?
Yeah. They'll be in the elements.
They'll be in the elements.
It was interesting though to watch. One of the first guys off the field tonight was Mayan Williams to shake hands with the military guys they bring in here every Wednesday, and he had a wrap on part of his hand, right wrist, etc. It'll be interesting to see what his availability is for Saturday. But there's another little tidbit to keep an eye on. Yeah. If in fact you're going to line up and try to run the ball.
Quick question, quick answer from each of you. Will the running game look solved Saturday?
Yeah, but it'll be with a grain of salt. So that rhymes sort of with solved.
I think it will for sure, but again, like Tim's saying, how much can you really judge that? This is a Northwestern team that has struggled against defending the run this year, and so even if Ohio State succeeds, everyone will say, and justifiably so, well, what does that really tell us?
Yeah.
But I still think that goes a long way in forming confidence, regardless of who you're playing. A lot of getting going in the run game is confidence and momentum, and regardless of who you're playing, you can still build that.
And I think, like I said, I go back to that little comment I made with Paris Johnson Jr. The whole game, things didn't go their way, right? I mean, but man, did they pop one. I mean, that is a
big one too.
That is huge. And it's the fourth quarter, this competitive stamina. That's what, Ryan Day, it may sound trite to some people, but competitive excellence and then compounding that with competitive stamina, I think it has shown up three times this year really. It's shown up in the Notre Dame game when they were trailing, and they came back and had that huge last part of the third quarter and fourth quarter. It showed up against Iowa because they didn't quit playing against Iowa even when they got a little bit of a lead, because that was a very good Iowa defense. And then on Saturday on the road in one of the toughest places to play in the world, much less America, they got the job done in the fourth quarter. So I think they're trending in the proper direction.
They've got now 3 weeks to trend in the proper direction before Michigan comes to town. We're already keeping an eye on that game, as are the Buckeyes. They've got an eye on that one 365 days a year. It's now November. It's money season and it's ring season. We'll be covering it all month at LettermenRow.com, where we cover Ohio State football all year long. That's the 40-year vet, Tim May. That's the new guy, Andy Backstrom. Thanks for being here, Andy. We really appreciate you taking us up on the offer to cover Ohio State football. Tim and I get to know you a little better. We're going to have a great time covering the team. You can get all of our coverage, all three of us, Matt Parker behind the camera, $1 for an entire year. That gets you to next November. That is a hell of a deal, Tim.
That's a hell of a Christmas present for somebody to give somebody, or maybe even, like I said, a Veterans Day present.
Or a Thanksgiving gift. Whatever you want, Hanukkah, whatever you want to give out as a gift, give the gift of Lettermen Row. $1 for an entire year. That's a great deal. Again, Tim, Andy, Spencer, practice report, Byers Auto. We'll see you guys in Evanston on Saturday for Ohio State and Northwestern.